So everything what we do here on this land is about aloha, sharing aloha every day. And we all saw it for a little bit. We heard that. But we also heard the birds. You held the birds. I was silent for a few minutes. That's what this place brings. It's real well. You can hear the birds inside it, and the fishes just running around. You can hear it. So mahalo. Thank you. Love you all. Okay, Auntie.
Because we are the world. Yeah. Here. Right? We are the world. So what? Right, what does that mean? I hope that means that we're manifesting that. And like when you throw the rock in the water, we're manifesting that. And it will vibrate.
Can you speak a little louder?
It will vibrate. Yeah. Or what they call that? Ripple out. And then go home with you and ripple out some more. But you are the storytellers of our day. So important. Yesterday we heard the story of the secular journalism, right? How we talk about relationships in our community. How do we identify Native Hawaiian perspectives, indigenous perspectives, tribal perspectives, nations, world. But at the heart of it all is this. It's just aloha. And we're very grateful to Jeff when in 1999 our community of Aiea asked if we could come in and restore this space. It had been evacuated after the bombing of the Arizona Memorial in 1941. But before that, cultivated for 400 years, right? Non-stop. And then in the 80-year period, became a mangrove forest. So the community asked me to come in. And the Navy response, this was 1999, was, oh, thank you, but we have a plan. And my sister and I had made these postcards saying, let's go clean the fish pond, and we handed them out instead of candy at the Christmas parade. And then we got the message, oh well, okay, so we won't go in now. But 14 years later, a friend of Uncle Sad Kane, who's also a friend of ours, came to my family's home. He learned that we are the last remaining family from the Mahele. That's the time when the introduction of private property came to Hawaii, 1848. Before that, no one ever owned Aina. We were only stewards. And our productivity and our care for Aina determined whether or not we would receive some from the king to care for our families and our communities and for him. So Uncle Sad came to our home and he said, the Navy has discovered that there is a historic fish pond at Pa'ayao. And they would like to restore it to thriving, how it was when the Queen was here, 500 years ago. And I'll let Jeff tell you the archaeology. But the cultural side of the story is how blessed we were to still be here, the last remaining family from that time. When Hawaii entered the 1800s, the contact period, it's estimated that we had between 500,000 and 1 million residents of all of these islands, including the Northwest Island. By the end of the 1800s, there were 30,000 of us, all of the islands, 30,000. So these historic spaces didn't have people to care for them. Not enough people to care for them. How did they go on then? How did they continue after that? Well, new people came on different canoe to Hawaii from China. And some of them were my ancestors too. Also go back to 2500 before, all the way to the first emperor of China, Huangdi. They came to Hawaii to help with the plantations, which is why most of the people who came in the 1800s came to help with the plantations. And they saw this space and they stepped into the void. And they raised fish and they planted rice inside this pond. They're still present today, even though they were removed after the bombing, because they planted their pharmacopoeia. And actually, when you look at all of these trees, most of them are not native, meaning they were not here with the first canoe, when the first canoe arrived. Most of them were brought, some by our own ancestors, and then from other people who came. But the Chinese planted this plant that just grows so well. It's right over here to the left of the wheelbarrow. It's a little shrub. Maybe you folks know that. You folks know that? Does it look familiar to you? If you have, what do you call it?
Are they mango?
No. Do you see these little heads just to the left of the wheelbarrow?
It's growing on the mound.
Just to the left.
So far away from it to see.
And maybe you can look at it later.
Coconut, you might recognize.
I found out that it's actually I'm like, why does this want to keep living here? Like, we cut it come back, cut it, come back, cut it, come back. And found out it's a medicine. And it's a medicine for sunburn, scorpion bites, and internal remedy for women. That was their Long's drugs, or whatever is the drugstore that we go to today. So they're still here. These other trees, palm trees from Canary Islands. Those came in, I don't know when, 1800, probably early. I don't know why, because they have big spikes in them. Birds don't go in them, fruit don't appear. Something's missing in this ecosystem, allowing it to fully thrive. But someone brought that here. The trees that are higher around the pond there, those are called Milo. They came on our first canoe with our ancestors to be used for housing, making implements, bowls. So when we look at the landscape, we see many people who came, but all in the same space, and all tended the same space. Even the mangrove was brought here more recently, like probably, do you know who brought the mangrove? I think it was
Who brought it?
scientists probably saying you need that to hold back the erosion. Yeah. However, I found out it comes from a place where there's a little animal who eats the pods, and so it keeps the plant down. It doesn't proliferate. But we don't have that animal here, and so it just goes everywhere. That's the mangrove, and it's a very important plant if it's cared for like that. When we went to India, Uncle Bruce and I went to India, and we saw you there too. In 2017, we were at a space that's connected to the Gandhi ashram, and they had a tree like that one there, only very tall, and their Buddha sat underneath it in their garden, and I couldn't believe it because I walked into their garden and said, I'm in Hawaii, but I was in India. And the Buddha sits under the Milo. And we have writing that says in Tahiti, where we came from, our ancestors, that whenever you came to a sacred space, Captain Cook journaled this, it was surrounded by Milo trees. And that's what we have surrounding this place too. So all the ancestors are still very much present in that form. They manifest in the natural form as well as spiritual form. And we're just blessed to be here as stewards, joining in partnership with the Navy to try to restore it to the way that it was when our beloved queen, Kalani Manuia was her name, only the second female ruler of Oahu. 400 years before Kamehameha unified the islands, she governed over this whole island. And she governed for 65 years in peace, no war. I believe by showing everyone how to live abundantly. She built this fish pond. There's very little that we know about her, maybe a paragraph, because we didn't have journalists then to write. We were not written yet. It wasn't until the 1800s that we started to put pen to paper. Everything was oral. Plus she was like a li'i, a highest ruler. So only the priests would know her stories and her chants, right? And protect her. Not for everybody. So very little exists. So our being here and trying to understand, why did she come here? Why did she live here? Move her government from where she was born, where you were, very near Kamananui, yesterday at a place called Ku'ukani Loko, the birthing stones. That's where she was born, where only the highest ali'i were born. And when her time came to rule, she moved here, and in the uplands. How come? That's what we're trying to understand. Why here? She could have gone to Waikiki, to Kualoa, to Waianae, to Kamananui, but she came here. And if we can find out why, and if she did that, we find the key to peace. Because that was her essence, and that was the essence of this place. And we feel it already. It takes no time to step into that. We left the mundane world outside that fence. We walked in, we were there. So if we can do a good job here, and Jeff will tell you more about why he chose this, but I believe if we do a good job here, then it will vibrate, and maybe others will open, and other spaces. And every ahupua'a may one day have their sacred space. I think so. And this is the person who started it off, who invited us in, who was not here in 1999 when the community asked.
That's what the spirits really, ancestors.
Okay, this is going to be your archaeology lesson for today. And then we'll have a test later on today. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if you can see it, but this